By 2030, they're saying 70% of companies will have some aspect of AI embedded in their system. And if you're a company who is not invested, you're going to fall behind and you're going to disappear.
Have we started?
We want you to be able to think about what you did over the last several years of your work, but from a completely different viewpoint.
Oh, I have to jump in.
Because once you get to that different viewpoint,
She's not passionate about this at all.
Sociologist and the neuroscientist. So we're just sitting in the middle. My money's on her.
I have to disagree with you. In that, you know, people work.
Bree, stay with it.
I meant to say that.
What is AI?
Quick definition.
This is. I heard on NPR this morning that you can't define artificial intelligence in even a paragraph.
Go.
I think artificial intelligence in general describes tasks that are traditionally performed by humans. That's its traditional definition. Within that is machine learning, which are adaptive algorithms that are based on data. That's how I define it.
AI is honestly nothing more than a new technological tool to help us live our lives the way we want it to live. That's all it is. It's cruise control in a car, it's a car, it's a tractor. And the fear around it is that because it's so new and so undefined and opens up so many avenues of imagination for us, we get scared about the potential of it. I have family who say, oh my God, you're working in AI. What the hell are you doing, right? Like, what do you say to those people? Like, how do you turn to them and go, it's okay?
I think a big part of the problem is people's perception of AI through popular culture.
Yes.
People's first inklings of what artificial intelligence was probably Dave from 2001, and then it was Terminator, and then it was Ex Machina, and then it was Blade Runner, and it's like all this AI out of control, out to conquer the world.
Well, it doesn't help that Elon Musk and Bill Gates are saying that that's the future.
I think the fear, going back to the popular culture, is that, we're just going to let the robot make all the decisions for us, right? And it's going to be out of control and chaos and all this sort of stuff, right?
Or somebody else is going to let the robot.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest fear.
We're not there yet.
So in a big White House, maybe.
We're not there yet, but we need to be aware of it and present and thinking about these things, right? You got to sell the experience, right? It's not the machine making the decisions and you got an on and off button and that's all you see and it's scary and all that stuff. It's not like that. I've never seen that, right? Yet, right? But you give them enough information, new information, let it discover new information to bring to you. So then, oh God, I have never thought about the world this way, and now there's like completely untapped markets that I can start to deliver goods and services to. To me, that's cool, right? That's solving real world problems, right?
So we're not dumb. There is a very dark side to this, right? Yeah. There is. And the hard thing for me is when and how can you control it, right, as an individual?
I look at the way, like to say, to decide who gets a loan or something like that. The algorithm part of that is almost the easy part. What's terrifying to me is who selects the data to make that decision.
We have so many examples now, right, of people who either deluded themselves or didn't want to think about the potential impacts of their technology.
Talking to the 21-year-old version of me that was doing all this innovative technology, I don't give a shit about anything you just said. I was not thinking about, hey, what's the impact on 2 generations from now? Are you kidding me? I need a Diet Coke, go. I'm pumping out 100 lines of code right now. And think about the 20-year-old engineers, right? I watched Conan the Barbarian.
What is good in life?
Yeah, I'm not thinking about maybe less money equals higher quality of life. No, more money equals good. And so the Bryans of the world and the sociologists of the world that are actually have visibility and eyes on this, have a peek at that to understand how it's going to affect your workforce and what you're going to have to do to get ahead of that. I mean, somebody's got to be thinking about this, right?
Yeah. Can I jump in about the dark side? I'm going to make it dark. I went to a conference about 1.5 years ago, and they basically, what they were showing was how this computer game could predict the next move for the player based on how they were playing, and so all this data they gathered. And then I raised my hand and I asked the question, could the same technology be used in warfare? They said, absolutely. So the idea that, that is reality. Artificial intelligence will be used in warfare, and that is scary, but it's more scary to pretend we don't want it, it's not going to exist. Because if you're not aware of what it's capable of, then how can you create those safeguards, or how can you create those relationships to control that? Because if we don't do that, there will be somebody who will do it without our knowledge.
And it's that knowledge that allows us to say, okay, where are the guardrails? Yeah. What are we doing to make sure that things are okay so that I can go home to my kid and say, look, I'm not starting World War III at work.
There's something kind of motivating in the space that we all work in to think that we will be able to come to a point where a big part of what we do is educate people on AI, because what you said, knowledge is power, right? And you and I have had a conversation before about the socioeconomic gap that may build with AI, right? The separation between the folks who are really profiting from the world and the folks who are really not, right?
There's research that shows that if you have a computer at home and access to internet, that you're more likely to be engaged in technology, more likely to be successful. Because of that disparity in growth, the individuals who go into the field right now tend to be individuals who have access to those types of technologies. But currently, we are kind of deficit in that area, but I think what is great is that we have companies who are aware of their deficits. Schools are advocating for that change. Business has to get involved in education. We have to have those relationships, and I think that AI is going to help build those relationships. I mean, even now I think about how our platforms now have changed the structure of our economy, where people are more independent and creating their own opportunities for their own employment. I think that's just going to grow.
That to me is where the hope is, right? I come from a really small, just broken, community that had a sawmill, right? And it's devastated, right? If you take smart farming at scale and with sort of AI and leverage the combination of all the whether it's the robotics or the pesticide application and conservative, environmentally sensitive pesticide application and stuff like that. I mean, it could revitalize that community, right? And then they're over the fear, right?
And there is some component of level setting, right? You think about the small farmer who, if they have access to IoT and AI together, can potentially compete with some of the bigger farmers, or at least stay in their farm, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you talk about the agricultural revolution and the need to feed the world today, and how many more mouths there are to feed, right? And the planet hasn't gotten any bigger, but with technology, the ability to feed the planet.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to do better with what we have. I mean, that's a given, and so computers can help us drive that, right?
Cat's out of bag. They were saying something like close to 30% of jobs will, I can't say be lost. Yeah. It's not lost.
Can be automated.
Yeah, it's going to be 30% of jobs are going to change.
That workforce is going to be doing something else
Exactly
in 2 years.
Right.
There was a couple of recent optimistic things in the news that showed that while most companies go into AI thinking they're going to save costs, the ones that actually successfully implement AI end up saying that it increased revenue rather than save costs, and that changed their focus as they were undergoing that. So that's very encouraging. There was another study that was just done that showed, I think, 2 jobs were going to be created for every 1 loss. So I think as far as the need to change, I basically think it's going to become an increasingly important life skill and job skill. I mean,
the number one thing that companies are looking for is agile learning. That the ability to be able to be constant learners.
Now, the challenge for those people is about training. Not that, wow, my job's now redundant because a machine's taken over, but I have such intimate knowledge.
Domain knowledge.
Yeah. I have such a clear insight into how this entire process works because I have worked this for months, if not years. How do I surface that to my manager in a way that makes my life better and makes the company better? right? And so it's going to take, and it's going to be difficult to make them shift, to say, okay, we want you to be able to think about what you did over the last several years of your work, but from a completely different viewpoint.
Oh, I have to jump in.
Because once you get to that different viewpoint,
She's not passionate
The
about this at all.
sociologist and the neuroscientist. So we're just sitting in the middle.
once you get to that viewpoint, that's where
Give
we
me
wanna
another
be.
beer.
See, I have to disagree with you. The thing, I have,
wait, grab my
okay,
popcorn.
this is
My
where,
money's on her.
this is where, this is what the
Me too.
I have to disagree with you. And that you know people are wired a certain way and they can't get out of their silo. I have to disagree with you. And that people have passions outside their work. And there's actual research that shows that if you give people time during their time of their work to have time to do something creative. In fact, you see this in tech companies where they give their workers like time off to do things that they love and they're passionate about, and their productivity skyrockets.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you want to put somebody in the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again, that's dismal. The dismal for production. I mean, and I think seeing it as an opportunity in terms of, okay, you're going to get out of this kind of monotony and you're going to get a chance to actually, use the stuff that you love to do. I bet they might be playing music, they might be writing poetry, they might be doing all these things.
So we actually completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of not them,
Yeah.
but talking to the C-suite.
Okay, the C-suite is overwhelmingly at enterprise-sized companies kind of just scared to death of AI. We were talking about a couple of potential clients who reached out to us.
By 2030, they're saying 70% of companies will have some aspect of AI embedded in their system. And if you're a company who is not invested, you're going to fall behind and you're going to disappear.
Well, a couple recently have just said, you know what, I know you know what you're talking about, right? I heard one say to Brian, will you come and teach my corporate executives how not to be afraid of AI, right? So let me show you how you can make new revenue opportunities. It's a great way to get them to lean in and go, yeah, right?
This is how we had to end up selling AI in an experience situation, right? We knew the C-levels were not going to get and explain ROI and all this stuff. I mean, are you kidding me? We can create a fantasy land, but that's not how you sell this, right? So what we did is we had exactly what you were talking about in a Disney experience where it was like, okay, cool, it's your birthday. This rose, right, that comes straight from a movie, right? It's dead, and it comes to life for you because it's your birthday and you walk up to it, right? And so when it was concept, right, we had the C-level execs come in, and then you take a kid who's never seen this. I mean, this is not scripted, right? And you throw them in front of that thing and it's their birthday because their mom's there and told them it's their birthday, right? And you walk them up to there and all of a sudden the rose comes to life. The execs all got it. Yeah. It was no longer, how many billable hours. It was how many millions can I
Not even
throw
the
at this,
technology, right?
And how do I make this 50 other things, right? And then it was like, by the way, that's AI, right?
Yeah.
That's all they need. Okay,
You're
get
I
it
don't
now.
care how
I get
much
it.
is out.
Right?
I love
so,
that.
So to me, it's like, that's what it's all about. Create the rose experience, right? Yeah. I see magic. I don't know what fueled it, but I like it and I want more.
I feel like when we're sold a bill of goods in public media, social media or whatever, about what AI is, we are sold this idea of convenience, of I can get into my car and let my hands go and it gets me where I need to go, like Jetsons, right? But that's not true. That what's missing from this advertisement about what our AI future is people. Right? We still have to govern it.
I think human-centered AI is recognizing that AI is best used in conjunction with the human. I mean, so it's all the stuff that we've talked about today. I mean, AI by itself can run amok, can do things that you don't expect it to, can work off of biased data and produce the wrong decisions. It
Predict
needs
the
to
outcome
be,
of an election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It needs to be properly managed and guided and trained and retrained and redirected. So I think there's so many examples where, the combination of human and machine is better than either of them alone. I mean, most of the applications I would say right now that are out there in the real world with AI, whether it's helping doctors scan, radiology reports or helping with customer service or whatever, it's a conjunction between human and AI.
What's next? Where are we taking AI after this? I know this is a hard turn. So. I'm just going to throw this out there. Brian.
Go. Future of AI,
You've
5
got
minutes or less.
2 minutes.
Yes.
I think so. We figured out the science behind it. We're putting it to work in specific applications. I think the next tier up, we're going to start encountering all new issues. I mean, issues of bias, ethics is an important one. Transparency, explainability. I think it's going to require a whole new type of talent to tackle these kinds of issues.
So I have moments of dread and concern, and then I have really big moments of hope, like human trafficking, right? I was doing a little research, and IBM is following the money in human trafficking in partnership with the European Union. I have moments of hope like that. AI is going to be a good thing in the end, because I think humans are going to overcome what you call that existential dread, right? Yeah. And for me, when we talk to people about AI and where they fit into the whole thing, and for them it's all about me and my family, right? Are they going to replace my job and my paycheck, et cetera? But when we find a point of familiarity, right, where we can introduce it to them, and they can go, oh, I get that, I understand it, right? And relate it to what they do right now, I find hope, right? Long answer to a short question, but.
The AI is going to be so prevalent, so pervasive throughout our world. It's going to be like electricity. We don't think about electricity, we think about what we can do with electricity. I think it's like other revolutions we've had in our past. There's some jobs that are lost, there's some that are gained, so there's a lot of uncertainty, but in the end we come out a lot better, I think.
I mean, my grandfather got in the car.
I love that story.
Tell the story.
My grandfather was 98, at least when I talked to him about this, and he remembered everything when he was growing up, and he could tell it in vivid detail, and they'd never seen a car before. And so all the kids were working or whatever, and he came by, uncle, whoever, whatever, came by, and they had no idea what it was. But he convinced them to get into it and took him for a ride, and he estimated it wasn't more than probably 15, 20 miles an hour or whatever, but they all got out of the car screaming, terrified, crying, right? That it was just unrelatable to anything they'd ever seen, right? But, they lived, and he started driving a car, right? And now, it's old hat to him and stuff. And so maybe that's what they say when they say through a child's mind, right?
Yeah, I love that.
He got to that point where it's just like, this is cool. Just look at the world in a wonderful way as opposed to a fearful way, and it's going to be all right. Yeah.